Our second expert in our expert series is actually a dad sharing his expertise of toilet learning his son to do wheeze in the toilet. I absolutely love the way that Mark, the dad in this podcast, calls it toilet learning, not toilet training. Now, any of you who have already done the toileting phase, this expert series isn't necessarily for you. You might just enjoy it. Mark and I have a really good, it's like a case study where we talk about what worked for getting his son toilet learning and then toilet trained. And then I problem solve through with him what steps he can take to get his son to do poos in the toilet. So this isn't a podcast for the faint-hearted. We talk a lot about toilets and poos and urinals and all sorts of things. So this is a listener alert. But I also, any parents who are listening or carers who are like, oh, Sue, I've tried. No, it's all too hard. I am deeply concerned that I heard recently, I was talking to a whole lot of special education teachers who told me that the NDIS is giving parents nappies as part of their budget. I cannot tell you how shocked I am. I don't know if any of you have heard of a self-fulfilling prophecy, but a self-fulfilling prophecy is where if you believe someone can't do something, then they won't do something. Children with autism do not have incontinence problems. That is not true. They have a toilet learning challenge because of their introception, but children with autism should not be in nappies for wheeze and poos. Nighttime, fine, but daytime, they do not need to be in nappies. And if you're getting a budget for nappies, then that makes you believe your child does need to be in nappies. Now, my question to any parent or educator listening is, if not now, when? If you're not going to toilet train your child, when are you going to do it? The longer you leave it, the more complex bowel and bladder issues they will have. Now, I've done many podcasts on this. I've written a book on this, but I am deeply concerned that if children are getting to 5 and they're still in nappies, not only is it a dignity issue, imagine if I came and put you in a nappy now because it was just easier. We see this in nursing homes. They put people in incontinence pads because it's easier than taking people to the toilet. Well, there is no physical reason. The child does not have, I mean, you should get it checked out, but there's not actually a physical reason they can't learn to do wee in the toilet. It's just they only know how to wee in a nappy. That's what they've known their whole life. And as you'll hear in this podcast, Mark's son only has known to poo in his nappy while he's on a scooter. That's his routine. And if we're going to change the routine, we need to do some changing around that. And any of you have attended my workshops, I talk about what would it take for you to change your toilet paper? Do you put it in or out or don't care? What would it take? So if you have a child who doesn't care they're wet, well, that's like someone who doesn't care which way their toilet paper goes. What is it going to take for them to care? What is it going to take for you to care? If you've got a child who has a set routine, like likes going under a table to poo or wee, that's no different to a person who likes their toilet paper going over the top. That's how they've been doing it. That's how they like it. And in fact, in my experience, lots of children know no other way. Because think of it, from the moment they were born, a nappy was put on them. Some of you have always put toilet paper out and you didn't even know there's another way. Anyway, I hope you can see I'm pairing both toilet learning or toilet training and a toilet paper analogy. But I would love you to change something in the next week. I want you to go into your kitchen now and I want you to move your knives, forks and spoons or your tea towels. I want you to move something. I want you to move something to be in a different spot. And I want you to see how long it takes for you to remember that that is not in that spot anymore. So if your tea towels are currently in the third drawer and your cutlery in the top drawer, go and swap it. And see how long it takes for you to stop opening the wrong drawer. Well, a child who is in nappies till they're 5, it's going to take more than one day to retrain them to wee in a toilet. You know, you're going to every now and then slip back to going to the wrong drawer because that's what you're used to doing. This child's going to have accidents. All children still have accidents. It doesn't matter. People have accidents. People have wee and poo accidents. But You're going to accidentally open the wrong drawer. Does it matter? No, we just re-practice. We need to keep practicing the routine, but we don't throw it all away. So I challenge all of you. And if any of you are going, oh, Sue, no, look, I don't want to change. Well, this child doesn't want to change either. And that's why giving children nappies, we're going to end up with children who are 30, now adults, in nappies. And that becomes a dignity issue for me. I believe that children have the right to learn to use the toilet, and we need to put in place the right supports. And that's why I did this podcast. But I just want to remind you, and for you, it mightn't be toileting. It's something else you're putting off. But I would, a child addicted to their device. Well, go and listen to the Simon DeRosa podcast on 4 types of addiction and what you can do, whatever it is. But we're the adults, and sometimes we've got to step up. And what I love about this conversation with Mark, or this case study, is he is so proactive. He's prepared to give it a go. And when you listen, he chose to toilet learn his son, and I'm trying to get my words to make that flow properly, but he chose to teach his son to use the toilet on a road trip. I mean, wouldn't that be where most people go, it's easy to put a nappy on? So I absolutely love this podcast. I enjoyed every minute of our conversation. The other thing I'd say is, after the conversation with Mark, I was asking him what his son was motivated in. It turns out he's motivated in numbers. So we've had a number of emails back and forth about how he can use numbers to motivate his son to do number 2s in the loos, because why not? I listened to a podcast recently with another expert I might get on at some stage, who has a lived experience of autism, and was sharing their love of numbers and how his parents had used his love of numbers to teach him everything, including play, like numbered the toys. And I love that. If you can find something a child loves, use it to your advantage. Okay, I won't keep going on. I'd love you to all, don't forget, go and change your cutlery and your tea towels around. Go and move something, put your saucepan somewhere different, move your toaster or your kettle, see how long it takes you to change your routine and pattern. And then remember, if you're teaching any child a new skill, whether it is, getting up in the morning, whether it is going to bed, it's not going to happen in one instant. You're going to have to practice that. So best of luck. I actually hope you find this inspiring, even though I have got a little bit passionate, but I am so passionate that children with autism should be toilet trained by 5. And be using the toilet for wheeze at least by 5 years of age. So I encourage all of you to think about that. And I hope that we can get more children out of nappies moving forward 2022, 2023, or whenever you listen to this podcast. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Sue Larkey podcast. As I always say, you have to embrace difference to make a difference. Let's dive into today's podcast. I am absolutely thrilled to have Mark on my podcast this evening. He is, it's evening here. He's offered to come on after work and share with us about his beautiful boys, Brady and Leighton. So can you just tell me about your beautiful boys?
Brady is autistic. He has a level 2 diagnosis. And Leighton is his older brother. Brady's 5 and Leighton's 7. And as far as I'm concerned, sort of Leighton's Brady's superhero.
I love that.
They're very connected boys.
I absolutely love that. And that is so beautiful. They're so connected. Now, Mark emailed me because he has been doing toilet learning, as he calls it. And I absolutely love the concept of toilet learning. I'm stealing it rather than toilet training, because I think it is about toilet learning. So can you just tell us the journey so far, where you're up to with the toilet learning?
With how I sort of why I view it as toilet learning is because I think you have to look at it from a child's perspective, as they're learning something rather than you're teaching something. Because I believe a child, especially children with autism, learn differently. I don't think they learn less. I don't think they learn more. I think they simply learn differently.
I agree. Couldn't agree more. And, anyone that knows me knows my embrace difference to make a difference. So, and toileting is an area we have to do it differently. So talk us through how you did it differently, because you decided about a year ago to take it on. Is that right?
Yeah, I decided that mum and me are separated. The children are with me over the weekend and during half of school holidays. And I think the most important thing about strategies is to sort of concentrate on the strategy for a bulk amount of time. So about during Christmas of last year, I decided it's time sort of Brady learnt how to wee in the toilet. And the environment around it was going to be somewhat difficult in the sense that we done a road trip from Sydney to Melbourne over a period of 10 days. So that's when I decided to take on this. I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah, but Mark, what I love, I know this, you made a decision. It's never a good time, whether you've got a road trip or you've got family visiting or the child gets sick sometimes in the middle of it. Like, you've just got to decide to do it. That's the hardest battle. I think with so many of my families, there's always a reason not to do it, but you got to the point of, nah, we're going to tackle it. I don't care we're on the road for 10 days. We're going to do it. And I think that's the biggest step, really, is like, we're going to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I suppose the reason I did it is because, like I said, it's a bulk amount of time.
Yeah.
I decided on day one, we're going to tackle this to day 14.
I love it.
If I achieved it quicker, and it was achieved quicker, if I achieve it quicker, great. But I think that was the key of it, Sue, to have that 14 days.
Yeah. So consistency, you gave yourself the 14 days, which I think is perfect. How far into the 14 days did you see progress?
No more than 3.
Yeah. This is the thing. So many parents put it off, and carers, and then they're like, oh, we saw progress within 3 or 4 days. And it's because I don't know. I understand the barriers, but the actual we got some progress, and that can just be one wee, but it's still progress. Yeah. So by day 3, what did you see?
Well, what I saw, the most important thing was I split the journey down to Melbourne over 2 days. Now, Sydney to Melbourne's about a 10-hour drive, so that's about 5 hours. We stopped a lot, a real lot, and sort of what the purpose of stopping was. I'd rather stop a lot than have the kids in the back with devices. That's just me, and that's how I am. So I'd rather stop a lot on the trip, and we probably stopped, probably every hour. Yeah. We went to, a Hungry Jack's and McDonald's. Let's go in the toilets, and it was a bit of a family event.
I love it. It has to be a family event. It honestly is the only way that we're all going. We're not making a big deal of it. We're just going. And I know when we had our emails back and forth before this, you were saying you didn't ask him if he needed to go. You just told him you're going. So you're like, get out of the car, or at preschool, they don't ask. It's time for the toilet. And that's really important, because so many of our children don't actually know they need the toilet. But once they're there, it's like, oh, and if nothing happens, it doesn't happen, fine. But if it does, great, So, yeah.
And what helped a lot, to be honest with you, Sue, and still helps to this day with strategies with Brady, is Leighton, Brady's superhero, got on board.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? He'll even, like, Leighton would have started with, I went to the toilet 10 minutes ago. Come on, Dad. You know what I mean? But he got on board. I explained to him what I was doing, and he got on board, and he pushed out a wee. I mean?
Bless him. I can see why you call him the superhero. That is adorable. But look, the same, because I used to have 5-year-olds with autism come into my autism class, and it was so much easier to take I had 5 boys and 2 girls in my class, all of them at the same time. Everyone
Yeah.
went. There wasn't a choicing, and some children knew what they were doing and some didn't. But once you develop that routine, we're all going, and then actually, I mean, there's nothing wrong with a bit of peer pressure or family pressure.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, he'll come with us.
Yeah.
Whether he produced a wee or not, it's not important.
No.
To me, that was never important. As long as we went every 20 minutes, every half an hour, every hour, whatever we could.
Yeah.
That's what was important. That we were in a bathroom environment. As much as they were public toilets, you try your best.
Yeah.
We were in a bathroom environment every, at a regular interval.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Fantastic. So fast forward where we're up to today. So where's he up to now?
Okay, we are still sleeping in nappies.
Yeah. Because how old is he?
He's 5. He'll be 6.
Yeah. Honestly, I would leave the nighttime nappies for a while. As much as I'd love to say stop them, from most families tell me probably 7 or 8 is a good time. Maturity wise, it just seems, a couple of years through the toilet training, then start tackle the nighttime, but so it's had 1 year out. Yeah, I think, and you were saying he doesn't wake up very wet, does he?
No, he wakes up sort of, no, I wouldn't say very heavy at all.
No.
I think the wheeze are coming just before he wakes up, to be honest with you.
And that would be the first thing I would do, and I've done this with some families, is just wake him up 10 minutes before, go in and get him out of bed 10 minutes before. Yeah. But that's why I'm saying he's only 5. He probably needs a little wake-up time. They don't wake up so alert. And do you want to make him grumpy for the whole day?
Yeah.
It's always a balance,
Yeah, yeah. I think, another sort of struggle I'm having with, he's wearing undies during the day, but he'll poo once or twice in his undies. Yeah. I'm struggling with sort of getting him on the toilet. Actually, in the last fortnight, I've developed a bit of a game I'm working on with that. You don't know about it yet. But
I don't know about it yet. I'm very excited. It's taken us a few weeks to get this conversation lined up because I've been busy. So we are going to be talking about poo, but I thought I should give the listeners a bit of a warning that the wheeze are going well, nighttime, little accident in the morning, but that's it. Yeah. But I think we're going to get on top of the poo as the next goal before we worry about the nighttime. So if anyone doesn't want to listen about poos, now's your time to turn off and walk away, because I want to do a deep dive into the poo. So when you first emailed me, he basically is happy to sit on the toilet when when he's when his brother's in the bath or something. He'll sit on the toilet.
He'll sit on the toilet, but when his brother's in the bath, absolutely. But then he'll sort of venture off the toilet. Yeah. And I think he's developed a bit of an anxiety with sitting on the toilet, to be honest with you. It's not coming naturally to him. No. When he's sort of developed, how to wee in the toilet, even then I could see he had a preference for standing up.
Yeah, 100%.
Probably because his brother did, to be honest with you. And
No. Sitting on the toilet is a very different sensation for many of my children. I mean, can you imagine? It can be cold. It can be the fear of it flushing. There's a lot of sensory. Standing up, they don't have to worry about a lot of the sensory challenges. You're in more control. But once you're sitting on the toilet, your feet can be off the ground. That can scare some of my children. Yeah. So that fear of that being, the seat can be a bit wobbly. There's lots of things to be scared of a toilet. I get it, for a child. And actually every toilet feels different. Whereas when you're standing up, it all feels the same. Does that, the actual going. So, and sometimes when I'm moving children from, not so much now, but years ago, a lot of schools only had urinals. There wasn't a lot of cubicles, so getting boys, when I was transitioning into primary school, often I had to get them used to urinals, and urinals were scary too and smelly.
I think what makes urinals are sort of preference for Brady, it really gets to be a family event.
Yeah.
I'm not sort
Yeah.
of having a go at ladies, but
No.
I enjoy this time where it's literally it's a very
It's a boys' club. It's a boys' club.
it's a bit of a boys' club. It's very
Yeah.
primitive.
I'm loving it, Mark. Absolutely. No, I think there's something to be said for that. So with his poos, he has, from what you've told me, he only has ever pooed when he's busy on his scooter, trampolining, moving. Is that right?
Generally, after in a playground, a lot of activity. I find two things consistent with the environment.
Yeah.
When he's pooing, one, he's in a high energy play area, and to be honest with you, the second is he's far away from me.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So
and this is
he's not near his
yeah. Because so in my experience, I have children who do that. So they'll poo on the trampoline, on their bike, playing, swinging. When they're doing that, oh, there's another group of children who take themselves away and squat and in dark places. And yes, normally away from people. And I don't know why that is, but that's what you've got to observe. You've got to observe when does it happen. Some of my children will be when they're watching their favorite DVD over and over again or playing with their trains, but normally not with people around. It's a private activity, let's face it. So they're sort of seeking that privacy, and that's where I like to, what you're doing is observe, well, what are they doing when they're doing those poos? So how can we catch it, or replicate that, So tell me the bits I don't know. What's been happening? What's the game?
The game. About at Christmas time 2 years ago, a friend, I don't know how much thought they put into it, but they gave me one of the best things I've ever gotten for Brady, and they're these.
What is it?
They're little beanbag pillows.
Oh.
They're for the older.
I know what they are.
Yeah, for the older generation, they're probably about 4 inches by 3 inches.
Yeah.
It's a beanbag in a pillow. Now, I've got 4 of them, right? Yeah. So one of Brady's loves is throwing. He'll pitch a ball in a straight line more than his brother would. He's got quite a lot of arm strength when he's pitching a ball. Right? So the reason my friend bought me these in the first place was so he has something to throw inside.
I love it.
So I've used them. We've used them for different things over the 2 years or so we've had them, and now we've developed a game called Pillows in the Sink. So what we do when the smell is apparent, Sue, and the smell is very apparent.
Yes.
When the smell becomes very apparent, very potent, we'll generally go to the bathroom, have a bit of a sit down, and my vanity sink sits about 1 meter or so in front of my toilet. So in my toilet environment, we can do this game. So I give Brady the pillow one by one, and he throws them in the sink.
I love it. But we can do it with a bucket somewhere else. It doesn't
have you can do it with a bucket.
You don't have to have the sink. You want. So have we had any poos?
We haven't had a poo, but what we've had is great, because this has only just started. This is
I'm loving it.
That's about a week and a half old.
Yeah.
But what we have is Brady sitting on the toilet, having fun, relax, really enjoying himself. Actually, I was at my brother's for a barbecue on Sunday, so he wanted to have a bit of a sit down on the toilet. Then we didn't have pillows, so we made invisible ones.
Oh, that is adorable.
So that's how much he's enjoying this game. So it's more what I've got to focus on now is strategizing timing.
Yeah.
Something I noticed just last weekend, and this is very fresh in my mind, and this comes from one of your podcasts, is while he was sitting in the bath, and this was interesting, while he was sitting in the bath with Leighton, they have a big bath together. I took Leighton out the bath, and a poo slid out.
Yeah.
And so the bowel is getting relaxed
yes.
while he's in the bath. So It's just working this, I suppose, pillows in the sink game. He's having fun. He's sitting on the toilet.
Yeah.
He's enjoying
Big
himself.
win.
He's not thinking about his bum. He's not thinking about what he's
No.
got to do on the toilet. So strategizing that with his bowel being extremely relaxed.
Yes. 100%.
That's what I gotta
and find that sweet spot. And absolutely knowing when you're getting that smell and the gas, because what kids with autism do is they hold it, and then sometimes they'll let out what we call a sneaky poo. That's a technical term. I can never remember it, but our special educators call it a sneaky poo, and it's like you can smell something disgusting. You checked everyone's undies, nothing to be found. Sometimes a tiny little dry bit of poo that slipped out.
Yeah.
And that can be a warning. But some of my kids can hold for 5 days. So how often would he be going?
I've seen him hold for up to 2 days.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, a poo will come out every day, but just in his undies. So I've missed it.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, you know what I mean? But I've seen him hold, a day and a half, 2 days.
Yeah. And that's what makes it hard. And I remember when I was at the autism school, we'd often, track it, and it was never predictable. But what was predictable was the activity they were doing, like the activity of what you've seen. So I personally, my strategy to try would be lots of scootering in the bath, take him out of the bath to throw the pillows, back in the bath, out of the bath, like a few times, and just see. But what I love is I don't want to make it a negative experience. So if getting out of the bath, he would then never get back in, I don't want to ruin that routine for him. So, so the other big one with both wheeze and poos is he's used to the poo just slipping out, and neurotypical people, we tend to push it out. Or in Asia, they squat, they put their legs up so the bowel opens. Now, my guess is when he's standing up, the bowel opens without him having to push, and the poo slides out. Once he's sitting, his bowel's bent, so the poo's getting stuck.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like when you're sitting compared to when he's standing, that's a different feeling. The poo's sort of dropping out without him having to think about it. Does that make sense?
That makes sense,
Yeah. So what we need to do is make that feel more comfortable. Now, you're going to have to experiment. But one of the things is getting him to lean more forward on the toilet, because if he's sitting back, it's not going to slide out. So actually, like when he's throwing, get him to like lean, sort of nearly, I don't know how many degrees is that? Sort of like, do you know what I mean? Like leaning so his bottom opens up a bit, and he doesn't have to think of it. Because when he's on the scooter or trampolining, he's standing upright and he wheezes upright. So my guess is his bladder and bowel works best upright. So we're asking him to do a completely different feeling to what he's used to. So I would just play around with that a bit. Also, sounds weird, but blowing can release the bladder and bowel too.
I've heard that. I actually forgot that. But I have heard that and read that.
Does he like blowing bubbles or anything like that?
Oh, he does. Yeah.
Much so. I find blowing bubbles fun. So we could be throwing the beanbag, then doing a bit of blowing bubbles, or those little windmills you used to get at the fair. You know?
I got plenty of them.
Blowing those sorts of things. Just that blowing. And another weird one is moving your feet up and down.
Okay.
That releases the wheeze, but it might relax his poos as well. So I don't know if you can make a little game like throw the beanbag, wriggle the feet, blow some.
Well, what I've tried, that wouldn't be hard to put in, because I've actually tried to make the game throw and push. Go and push.
Right.
He's not picking up the push.
No.
Interesting what you're saying with sort of leaning forward. That is quite possible if he's sitting all the way back on the toilet. What he's sort of doing is sitting on the very front of the seat.
Yeah.
So it doesn't actually have to lean forward that much. When he sits further back towards the cistern, I guess, when he sits further back, like properly on the toilet, he would have to lean forward. So that could actually be
So
sort of.
I would just experiment with the posture because for my children who like to go away to squat, what I do is I've had people build, and I had some men's sheds do this. They're always looking for projects, and it's in my toileting book. I'll put a photo with the podcast. Built me like a whole platform, so the child's legs are squatted. The same feeling they get when they do a poo. And what we sometimes do with those children is cut a hole in the nappy, because some of those children like the feel of the nappy, but you don't need to worry about that. So I can understand for children who are used to that heavy nappy and their squat, to have nothing feels quite awkward to them, like really insecure is how. So why would you poo if you're feeling insecure? Your body wouldn't let you do that. So then for those children, but also some of children who like dark, I'm like, no toilet lights on. Like you have to replicate the situation, if that makes sense. So now the other thing we need to think about, when he does a poo, what's the cleanup procedure normally?
The cleanup is if he does a poo, and it's possible for me to do so, the preference would always be to go to the bathroom. So we go to the bathroom together. I don't make a big deal of it.
No. But do you put the poo in the toilet?
No, I don't. So, to be honest with you,
poos go in the toilet. You see?
There you go.
So what we're going to do, depending if it's too messy, totally get it. But sometimes because it's constipated, it's quite big and hard. And what I sometimes say, a man poo out of a child, I can't believe it. So if you can, poo goes in the toilet and bye-bye poo. Like I always make it a bit of, even a little song in there, whatever. Because, for example, if children are used to parents talking to them when they're changing their nappy, I like the same chat. Or if you sing a song, same song. So they relate the experience of having their poos cleaned up is the same as the poo going in the toilet experience, whether it's a song, a chat, an activity. Does that make sense? So that
it makes perfect sense. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I think what I'm doing too, and I might be doing it wrong, is I'll use a sort of baby wipes to clean his bum.
No. That's what I was just next thing I was going to say. Stick with the baby wipes. That's actually really important. Okay. Because what a lot of my children, toilet paper is a massive sensory. Like to any children who don't like labels. Okay, if a child doesn't like labels, I'm never going to use toilet paper on that child. Because imagine toilet paper has a similar feel to a label on your clothing. So if people are going to touch the child with that, why would they do a poo in the toilet when you're going to get this horrible toilet paper?
Okay, fair enough.
Turn the kid off. So stick with the wipes. In schools sometimes, because our schools' toilet systems aren't very good, we still often have to put that in the bin, or I get those flushable. There are flushable wipes now, but some of my kids, you need 15 wipes to clean up. So I wouldn't be putting that. I'd still just do what I'd normally do. Put in the bin or whatever, or nappy sack. And in fact, I wouldn't worry about him wiping himself for quite some time.
No,
he's got good motor skills, but if they just get a tiny bit of poo on them, they won't want to do it again. So I would. The aim's the poo in the toilet, the wiping's further down the track. But with the baby wipe. So look at you. You thought you were doing something wrong, and I'm giving you a gold star.
Well, it's an interesting point about the poo in the toilet. That's something to pick up, and that's
good.
Like just going back to the beginning of the podcast, that's where I get this toilet learning from, Sue.
I love it.
You know what I mean? It's not good. Teaching. It's learning, and it's a way of learning, and how Leighton learns and how Brady learns, just different way of learning.
Yeah, and you know what? The kids have taught me this. I've learned this from my beautiful children over the years that taught me, like, one of my little boys finally got him pooing in the toilet, tried to get him to wipe, and sensory meltdown, wouldn't go back in. To him, it was like there was a spider on his hand, and he just couldn't recover. And so I'm learning too. And I always say the children have taught me more than I've taught them because I've got years of experience of seeing kids, and
Yeah.
and that's why I love that you're like, hey, I need some help. We're stuck.
I try to reach out as I mentioned in my email to you. Brady has a great set of support around him.
Yeah.
He's got a speechy that's taken a lot of early intervention work on at the moment. He visits he goes to an early intervention type preschool. And if I gave one piece of advice to parents, I'd say communicate with them.
Yeah.
Email their teachers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They'll respond you. If you take an interest, they'll give you time. And
100%.
and work together. Work as a team for your child, because the worst thing I found is different things happening in different environments.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I couldn't agree more. And also, teachers and early childhood, all of us are busy, but we love it when parents reach out, and share successes. I mean, let's face it, when you sent the email and you're like, hey, we've had success, but I'm stuck, I can't help but go, yay, let's see what we can do. And I think that's one of the big things. And I'm just reading this great book called The Gap and the Gain, and it's all about focusing on the gains instead of always going straight into the negatives. And I think when we work together, not only do we have to communicate, we have to communicate the little wins. We have to communicate, hey, this crazy beanbag thing's working. And you know what I also think my advice is? Crazy works. Can I tell you? Never dismiss anything. Like, give anything a go, and you'll know if it's going to work or not.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny because, like, when we done the whole weeing thing on our road trip, I think from memory, and I'm pretty right on this because I remember it well. The first place we had a successful wee was at the big merino sheep at Goulburn. I'll never forget it. You know what I mean? And I walked out of that toilet. I was hitting high fives. You know what I mean? But it was it was an inside celebration in the sense that I didn't want to overdo it. Yeah. Because you need to make it, okay, we've done a wee, let's go. You know what I mean? It's got to be a natural thing for the children. Whereas, Dad's going to hit the roof every time I do a wee.
It's hard not to sometimes. It's hard not to get overly excited, but I love it. You've got to celebrate small and big wins. Otherwise, it's exhausting, and that's why it's important to sort of look at not always be focused on the gap, be looking at those gains. And you'll never go past Goulburn Merino without thinking about that. I can guarantee it.
Oh, no, I don't. I think, like, I suppose with regards to weeing, I think a golden rule with us, with our family, is we do a wee when we walk in a building and when we exit one. It doesn't matter what the building is, shopping centre, hospital, service station. We walk in a building, we do a wee. If we're there for long enough, we walk out of a building, we do a wee. And that's the routine.
And that's what I say to parents too. Like, and the same at school, as soon as the kids got off the bus or came in the morning, we do a wee, because then we've sort of got a starting point. And as they leave in the afternoon, so they've done the wee before they leave. And I mean, I'm a classic. When I walk in and out of the house, I do that. But also what I've found over the years is if you walk into a shopping centre, it means you've located the wee where the toilet is. So if the child does request it, you know where it is. So then if they suddenly do need it, and particularly if we get some progress with the poos, then actually we might find that we do need to know where that toilet is pretty quickly. So because most of my kids don't know they need it till they're busting. So, so looking at that. Well, thank you. I know you've had a big day at work too. So thank you for sharing these fabulous strategies.
Never a problem. I'd love to.
And best of luck with your beautiful, beautiful boys. And look, they're lucky to have each other, but they're also really lucky to have you, who's such a strong advocate and believer in what's possible. So I love it.
I really appreciate people saying that. I love it when people say that. And it really goes to heart. I love it.
Oh, appreciate that.
I hope you've got some great tips and strategies to make a difference. Remember, strategies wear out and not every strategy works for everybody. If you're ready to dive in deeper to more strategies and ideas to make a difference, I'd highly recommend you consider Dr. Tony Atwood or my online courses. For more information, visit my website www.suelarkey.com.au.